In Chapter 5, we're going to talk about having things. Look at our vocab. 有,没有,一个,一个人. So, the way to say to have in Chinese is 有. This is an extremely important verb. For example, 王先生有弟弟吗? And I would respond, 王先生有弟弟. 有 is used in the sense of to have or to possess. Both of these, just like in English, are common in Chinese. However, if I want to, and this is a little tricky, if I want to say someone doesn't have something, like Wang 先生 doesn't have a didi, I must use this negation, 没. I cannot use 不like we've learned before. So the way to say not have is 没有,没有. He doesn't have a daughter. 他没有女儿. So basically, whenever you're saying not have, you just always must say 没有. You never use 不 in this situation. Once again, the negation of 有 is 没有. It is not this. This is wrong. Let's look at an example. 你有妈妈吗? I guess my mom died. 我没有妈妈. Or I can respond, 我有妈妈. And I can say, I have one mom. 我有一个妈妈. The word for one is 一. It's pretty straightforward, except like 不 before it undergoes tone sandy. Remember, tone sandy means the tone changes depending on the tones that come before and after adjacent sounds. So we pronounce E in isolation as first tone, but its pronunciation changes according to the following tone sandy rules. Before a fourth tone becomes second tone, 一个. Before a first, second, or third tone, it's pronounced in the fourth tone. 一张,一盘,一本. What this means is that when you pronounce the number 1 in a tone pair, it's actually never pronounced as E. It's always pronounced either as second tone or as fourth tone. Incidentally, E and bu, meaning not, which is a word we learned in Level 1, have the exact same tone-changing, tone-sandy rules. So if it is before a first, second, or third tone, it's pronounced bu. But if it's before a fourth tone, it's pronounced bu or e. So if you remember the tone sandy rules for bu, you'll remember those are the same rules for e. Now remember, we got into this discussion about pronunciation because I was trying to say I have one mother. 我有一个, right? In this case, it would be 一. Second tone. I have one 个 mother. What is this 个 doing between one and mother? Well, this character 个 is something that we call a measure word. In this case, 个is a measure word for many, many common types of objects, including people. What is a measure word? Well, it might be helpful to think of the measure words that we have in English. For example, I don't really say one paper, I say one piece of paper, or one cup of coffee. And this filler word piece or paper is the so-called measure word. Essentially, a measure word is a word you're using to measure an amount. If I'm counting something, I'm trying to quantify it, I need to use a measure word. They're much more important in Chinese than in English. In English, we have, a piece of paper. But I don't have a measure word for every single noun. I can say, one pen or one person. But in Chinese, I must have a measure word between a number and a noun, or between a demonstrative pronoun, aka 这, and a noun. Let's say that again. In Chinese, a number is not followed immediately by a noun. If I'm counting the noun, I can't just put the number there. I must have a measure word. So if I want to say I have one mother, I must say 我有一 and then 个 mama. How do I say a person? Well, I would say 一个人. If I say this, 一人, that's wrong. I must say 一个人. The measure word must be there. A student. 一个学生. A teacher. 一个老师. Right, one teacher. I have to use it in front of so-called demonstrative pronouns like 这 as well. I'm in this case, I'm quantifying, I'm specifically measuring a specific person, right? This child, 这个孩子. There are many different kinds of measure words in Chinese, just like I say, in English, I have a piece of paper and a cup of coffee. In Chinese, there are many measure words. In fact, there are over 100 measure words. That being said, in everyday speech, there's only about 2 or so dozen. And I'll give you a little trick. You can really get away with just saying 个 a lot, because 个 is the most common measure word. And it's sometimes used as a substitute for other measure words if you can't think of the right one. People will understand what you're saying.